Hello again, and welcome to another dangerous episode of Forbidden Knowledge. My name is Craig. We are here live if you are listening on July 29th of 2026. And I am simulcasting on YouTube and Liberty Tree Radio at the same time. I'm probably getting better at this. I think I've got my audio problems figured out, and we can take calls on Liberty Tree Radio, or we can take chat. The chat will be open on YouTube. For those of you on Liberty Tree Radio who don't know, the YouTube channel, if you want to watch, is Forbid TV. That's Forbid spelled with two D's, and TV with no space between. So Forbid TV. For those of you on YouTube who want to catch my live shows when I do them, which is usually every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I don't always do it, but I try to, and I'm getting a little better at it. And that would be, you would go to a website that, let me see, libertytreeradio.4mg.com if you want to find out. If you want to listen that way, there's a way you can do it on your phone without video, just audio as a phone call, if you will, as a podcast. I guess you call this a podcast. I don't know what you call this exactly. So we are live. We're going to talk about the war probably. Unless somebody wants to change the topic, I do sometimes take topics and we run with them. This is a live show. We do what we want. As YouTube people know, I've got a lot of different topics on my channel. I debunk a lot of things. And so I also want to mention, we also get trolls. There's no moderator on this channel, so we do end up getting trolls, and that's fine. I don't feed trolls. I serve them for dinner because they deserve it. But anyway, because we had some of the last live show, I will probably be doing more live shows, especially in the winter times, because right now it's light out and I should be working. Last week I was working while I did my Liberty Tree Radio broadcast, although I didn't do a live stream on YouTube. It's a little harder to do the YouTube thing as opposed to the Liberty Tree Radio, because Liberty Tree Radio, I'm basically just doing it off of the phone. And so it's a little bit easier sometimes. So we're going to talk about the war, or whatever, what they're pretending is a war, because it's not really a war, because Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 specifically says that Congress declares war, not the president. But since when have we followed the Constitution on that clause? Since World War II. So everything we've had that's been called a war since World War II has not been a war. It's been some military excursion or police state, whatever you want to call it. Has not been a war, because Article 1, Section 8 clearly says that Congress declares war, not the president. The president becomes commander-in-chief after the Congress declares war. And I might direct you to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, Clause 12. Let me look that, make sure I'm getting it right. Clause 12, and this is something I've talked about here recently on Liberty Tree Radio, kind of new for you on YouTube, and a lot of people even on Liberty Tree Radio don't believe me. We are not supposed to have a standing army. We are not supposed to have a standing army. The Constitution is pretty clear about that. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 12, the Army Clause is sometimes referred to, funds the Army, prevents any single congressional funding bill for raising and supporting armies for lasting longer than 2 years. So we're really only supposed to have a 2-year standing army. And then they can reinstate it after 2 years if it's necessary. But if we've never even declared war, why do we even need a standing army? You see, that's a little paradigm I'm trying to get a lot of people to understand, to get your mind wrapped around, to where you don't have to believe everything that you've been taught all your life about how we need to be at war and how we need to have an army, we need to have a navy, we need to have an air force and Marines and so on, a space force. This sounds like an alien concept to a lot of you, but our Constitution was basically set up, our country was basically set up to where we didn't need a standing army. After all, the only legitimate use for a military is for defense. Defense, not attacking, not controlling, not changing dictators all around the world. It's for defense. And we can very easily defend our country, which is, we have two great oceans and two relative friendly countries on either side of us. Relative, because Donald Trump seems to want to destroy that with tariffs and whatnot, all the wars he wants to go through. But anyway, we have two relatively friendly countries that probably we aren't in danger of being attacked by, and two great oceans protect us. We don't need a standing army. Hello, we've got a caller on Liberty Radio. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
I think we got 3, not 2.
3 what?
The Gulf.
3 wars, you mean?
That's considered.
Yeah.
I think the Gulf is an ocean. So we got the east, the west, and south.
Oh, I see. 3 oceans. Okay. Well, that other ocean, the ocean that, the Gulf of Mexico, I'm going to call it, not America, Gulf of Mexico, would only protect us. That would really only protect us from war against Cuba and Bahamas and I guess Venezuela.
It's America. Look, that's 1, 2, and 3. Well, that's big ocean. That's a lot of ocean front.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for the input. Yeah, I thought you were going to say 3. I thought you were going to say 3 wars, and I guess since we're at war with supposedly at war with Iran and supposedly at war with through proxy as a proxy rather against Russia through Ukraine, and because we're at war with who else? Yemen. Well, you could probably list 100 countries we've been at war at since we haven't declared war since World War II. Essentially, we haven't declared war since World War II, but yet we've had incursions in about 100 countries since then. So what the hell are we doing? Why aren't we following the Constitution? Well, they don't really care about the Constitution. I think they approved it. Let me explain this little idea I have about not having a standing army. Well, not only do we have the oceans that protect us and 2 countries that are at relative peace with us, at least they were before this president we've had. Then we've got we've still got and also there's the militia. The Constitution talks about a militia article. Second Amendment talks about a militia, but we also have the because in fact, let me expand upon that a little bit. The militia thing, because a lot of people get wrong ideas when you say the word militia without citing the Second Amendment. There's another thing I saw here just recently. I'm looking at my thing that I brought up here. The intent for the Article 1, Section 8, Clause 12 of the Standing Army thing ensures that a permanent military force remains under the recurring mandatory control of democratically elected representatives. But where's the part I read about the militia, the little blip that was interesting that a lot of people are going to get mad over, especially on YouTube. The Article 2, Section 2 serves as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces to direct military operations after declaration or authorization. Congress has officially declared war 11 times for 15 conflicts in U.S. history, with the last formal declaration occurring during World War II in 1942. The War Powers Resolution. Caller wants to say something? Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller.
There are early state constitutions that had a clause in them that said no standing army shall be allowed, so they are obeying against freedom. In other words, no draft. You can't force people into the military.
Okay, well, we shouldn't, but in fact, they've recently expanded the draft. They've expanded the draft recently from age 37 to 45. Is that what it was? Do you know the numbers? Or not the draft?
Before World War I, there was no such thing as the kind of draft that they conditioned us to know that. All right, a draft was a piece of paper that Congress wrote up. 2 years service, you get 2 years pay after 2 years. And only if you signed up. They went around with a handout. If they had something they wanted to do some kind of project, they would, post these things they were. And, hey, I can get some money and I can go onto the frontier and make myself a homestead. Cool. But you're not supposed to be forced. Conscripted. Are you there still?
Yes, I am. And they're probably going to have to do that again. If they want to continue this war, they're going to have boots on the ground. The only way to do that, with the intent that they think they're going to win, is to have boots on the ground. The only way they're going to do that is to have a draft, because there aren't going to be enough people to sign up for the military to go in and fight for Israel.
Yeah, you go to draft, you go to jail. Yeah, that's bullcrap.
Well, if you go in the military, you also sign away all your rights, whether it's a draft or not.
No. If you sign up and you're in there for, it's supposed to be 2 years. Okay, you sign a contract, then okay, you got problems. But militia are the ones that won the war, not the drafted so-called military at the time. Washington, Lafayette, and the other generals, and what was the other guy, Benedict Arnold, guys like that. They did things, but they were not. You know what I'm saying? You can't decapitate. You're walking into a hornet's nest. You got militia everywhere. There's no one central, kill this guy, and they all will just, surrender. Ha ha ha. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me expand on the militia part, because I did find the little blurb I have here about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms via a well-regulated militia as a safeguard against centralized military power. And that explains exactly what we got going on right now.
Abusive power.
Abusive as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're out attacking sovereign nations without declaration of war that have no threat to us. Iran had no threat to us, never did. But for some reason, we went and attacked them.
Well, let them attack our shores and see what the hell happens.
Yeah. What if?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well,
what are we doing over there anyway? What the hell? Anywhere.
What if Iran was right next to us? I mean, right now their missiles can't reach us here. But what if Iran was right next to us?
Yeah, if they were, they're not that bad of people.
If they were right next to us, we'd be surrendering immediately instead of over a longer period of time delaying it via memorandum of understandings. Because yes, we have been surrendering.
They're not trying to take over the world, man.
Well, that's the.
No, they're not. It's like that meme that's out there. Iran wanted war so bad they moved their country next to all of our military bases.
Yeah.
They didn't pick up their country and drop it by our military bases. We dropped our military bases by them.
Okay, so let me continue on. Thanks for the input. I'm hoping the people on YouTube can hear the calls. I'm holding the speaker up to the microphone of the laptop that I'm using in order to try to get the callers to be heard on YouTube as well. So a few comments here. I talked about trolls. Last time I was live, I had some trolls, and it's funny because once you challenge them, then they have to go away. They have nothing else to say other than calling you names, and that's exactly what happened last time I was on live on YouTube. It happens. I don't have moderators. Nobody else helps me on this channel. I'm not paid any single penny on this channel, either on Liberty Tree Radio or on YouTube. I don't have any affiliate links. I don't have any sponsors. I don't have any paid advertisements or ad reads. I don't have any way of making donations even on either YouTube or Liberty Tree Radio. I do this as basically information as a service to the public, who I think I have some knowledge that I like to impart that a lot of you don't know, and I'm trying to educate people. That's why I do this. So trolls don't have anything. Let's see. Go ahead, caller.
Comment.
Yes.
Hey, I was wondering did you have copper rounds, or is this some other guy?
It's me. Yeah, I'm the guy. I do have copper rounds. You can go to forbiddencoins.com, and here it sounds like I'm advertising, but I don't even have that website right now. By the way, you can't even buy them. So you're going to have to contact me via email, and the email is forbiddenknowledge@yahoo.com.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get you there.
Forbidden knowledge. Yeah, but the website that I mentioned shows the coins that I have manufactured, and but price copper has gone way up. I mean, as gold and silver have, price copper has gone way up as well. But yeah, I'm that guy. I know Mark promotes me a lot, even though I don't even try to promote myself.
All right, appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the audio's the people on Liberty Radio. Apparently, the people on YouTube, I've been told the audio is good. You can hear me, you can hear them, you can hear the caller, and I'm also going to respond to commenters on YouTube if you want to comment. So, no standing army because we have the oceans. Then we have a National Guard. National Guard. Do we really need a Navy? Do we need our aircraft carriers all over the world attacking countries? I don't think so. I think we need them if we have aircraft carriers. I think we need them on our own shores. But then if we're on our own shores, we got airports, military airports on our shores. Why do we need aircraft carriers? We've got a Coast Guard. Coast Guard should be our Navy. No standing Navy, no standing Army. What about the Air Force? Well, that's a little bit different. It used to be the Army Air Force. Nowadays, I mean, back, of course, when the Constitution, the intent wasn't there for an Air Force. So now we have, that's why we have an Air Force, but there was also developed a civilian version of the Air Force, like a volunteer, which is called Civil Air Patrol. My brother actually happened to be, he's passed away now, but my brother actually happened to be very high ranking, I can't remember his rank, very high ranking in the Civil Air Patrol. Anyway, there's Civil Air Patrol instead of Air Force. Still have all our military jets and aircraft, but put them on our own shores. Because we're going to get attacked, it's going to be from our shores. Of course, we could get attacked from within, and that's why we have the militia, don't we? And then what about the Space Force? Well, that's a whole thing that hasn't really even fine-tuned itself yet, although Iran has access to satellites that they're using for targeting and for GPS type, not GPS, but there's another thing. I guess they use the China system now because apparently the U.S. they were using GPS, but then the U.S. knows how to spoof their own system to fool their aircraft and missiles and drones to be confused about where they're at. So they started using the Chinese system. So why haven't we shot down their drones, shot down their satellites? Well, because we do that, then if you start shooting satellites up in space, then you create a whole lot of space debris, which pretty much starts destroying a lot of other satellites, including our own. So that's the simple answer. Space Force is just a meme. U.S. Air Force covers space, according to one of the viewers in this case, so YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. I always found it funny because Donald Trump started the Space Force in his first term, and so. What does that make him? It makes him the #1 space cadet. If you're older, you might remember that. That'd be a slur, space cadet, as in somebody a little goofy, a little crazy. And I think that applies, doesn't it? We've got a president that's having problems, not the same kind of problems that Biden did, but certainly problems because he's getting into these wars and saying things and doing things that just don't make any sense for a rational president should have ever said or done. We have the worst president in my lifetime. And just because I say that, folks, doesn't mean I'm a Democrat, okay? Don't accuse me of being a Democrat or Republican. I'm neither one of those. There is no such thing as a Democrat, Republican, because when you look at it, they're really all the same uniparty. So no, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. And I'm not even a libertarian. But that would be the closest thing, I guess, if you want to try to describe me as something. I wouldn't be offended if you called me a libertarian. I'll put it that way. Not as offended. But, yeah, I'm against anybody who violates our Constitution. And we used to have a Constitution Party. I don't know. We still have a Constitution Party? Probably still do. I don't know much about it, or even if they really stood for actually following the Constitution. Don't know. I know we used to have one. There's also still a socialist party, and Democratic Socialist. There's also a communist party, I believe, that's still operating in some form or another. But anyway, right here in this country. But when you vote, you're actually 90% of you, 92 to 94% of you actually voted in the last election for the Zionist party. Yes, you did. 92 to 94% of you. Because 92 to 94% of our elected federal officials take their orders from Israel. All these Israeli PACs, these funding that are basically bribing our congressmen and senators and presidents and so on in the federal government. They're all beholden to these Israeli PACs that are like such as AIPAC or J Street or all the others. Lots of them out there. If you look at it, they're all taking 92 to 94% of them are taking money from these Israeli PACs. So they're beholden to their donors, which is Israel. Congratulations. You didn't know that you thought you were a Democrat or Republican, and you're really a Zionist, and you didn't know it, did you? So if you think in November coming up is going to change something dramatically by going and voting in the so-called Democrats, when 92 to 94% of them are actually Zionists, what changes are you actually making? Are you actually making any change? I don't think so. I think you're still going to have the wars that we have. Your sons and daughters will be fighting in a war for Israel. Don't let Israel step up and do the dirty work, bringing in their own troops. They want to try to merge our militaries now, but that would be treason if that actually happens. They're trying to do it right now as I speak. This is not going to go well for us, folks. We got to divorce Israel. And nothing I've said tonight and nothing I've ever said on this channel is anti-Semitic. Look up the word anti-Semitic. Look up one of the videos I did recently showing the definition of anti-Semitic. When I say I am against what Israel is doing and our involvement in our association with Israel, not a single thing I said there was anti-Semitic. Get over it. It's another thing the press is trying to do to demonize people who bring forth the truth to you. That's all it is. So we don't need a standing army. We don't need a standing navy, a standing air force. We don't need those to defend our own nation. That's all we need is for defense. Cut our military budget by $1 trillion, but instead we've got another $1 trillion into debt, probably over what we've done now in invading Iran in a war that he can't get out of, that he wants to get out of, but can't. Let's talk about the situation there. Because things keep changing, although right now we're kind of in a lull between escalation traps because Iran has escalation dominance. We're just responding at this point. We think we attack Iran and they attack us 50% more than we attack them, more effectively than we attack them. And we're out of bullets. As I said before this war even started, the way this war is going to end is we'll run out of bullets. And when I say bullets, I don't mean, 50 BMG or 30, whatever. 30 caliber. I don't mean those kind of bullets. I mean missiles, drones. We're running out of bullets. We are out of bullets, basically. Some of the last attacks that Iran did on certain parts of our bases that are overseas, they didn't even try to defend them because they don't have enough munitions to fight them with. Our military overseas are sitting ducks at all those military bases, almost 800 military bases all around the world. Why do we have them there? We don't need them there. They're just sitting ducks. In fact, we've had some of our own people killed there because they're just sitting ducks. I wouldn't call them heroes that died, like Pete Hegseth says, the war crimes criminal. They aren't really heroes. They were victims of the oligarchy who were trying to spread their empire all over the world. Yes, thanks, Kentucky on YouTube. I did fix the audio. I fixed it on the last live stream, too, if you want to go back and look at that one. We're bombing the wrong side of the country, someone says. I don't know what that means. The wrong side of which country? Our country? We probably should be bombing Israel, if that's what you mean. They're our worst enemy. They're the one that gets us all this trouble. Here's something that I've heard Dave Smith say. If you don't know who Dave Smith said, he's a commenter. He has a podcast called Part of the Problem, I think it is. He's a self-described libertarian, and he's a Jew. And the way he describes it is, why are we friends with Israel? If I can paraphrase him here, why are we friends with Israel? If you had a friend that took you out into the bar every weekend and got you into fights and you got yourself bloodied up and and didn't and weren't winning, and maybe even got yourself in trouble or arrested or anything, why would you keep hanging out with that friend? I think that'd be a friend you'd probably want to drop, because all it is getting you in trouble. And that's exactly what Israel is to us. They get us in trouble. So he says the Z's are not the C's. The letter Z's are not the C's as in S-E-E-S. I'm not sure what that means. Not the C's. Anyway, you'll have to elaborate. He also says we lost World War II. The Soviets actually were the prime drivers and winners of World War II. We helped out, but the Soviet Union was actually the prime victors. They lost millions of people. We didn't lose anywhere near what they did, like 1/10 or less. And World War II was the last time that you saw us getting to war that not only we declared that a lot of you would be able to consider to be justifiable because we were fighting the Nazis, right? Well, we are now supporting the Nazis in Ukraine. When you look at the banderas and the Ukrainian parties, the parties there, the what we have, and we are, I know it's going to make a lot of people mad because I know we're supposed to support Ukraine supposedly, but when you look at it, there really is a lot of Nazis there that we're supporting. The Nazis theory, the way they're acting. Of course, Israel is acting that way as well. They were involved with a genocide. They got it themselves almost genocided off in Germany. And then, well, what do? They turn around and create their own genocide. That's rather interesting turn of events. So anyway, we do why did we get into war with World War II? Because the oligarchs wanted us to, for one, even though the American people were very much against getting into that war. But once we were invaded by Japan at Pearl Harbor, then all of a sudden, all the American people being totally against the war were totally for the war, and that's a danger you have to be worried about coming up here. If Mafia Don decides to continue this war, he's going to have to create something to make something bad happen to get you to change your mind, because right now most Americans are against this war in Iran. So you're going to have to change the American people's mind about this war, and so you'll have to have something very major happen in this country to get people to rally around the flag and want to go kill all those Iranians with boots on the ground. It's going to take years. And we probably won't win then either, because you're going to need 1 million troops. You're going to need more than 1 million troops on the ground to do that, to try to take over Iran. It's not going to be an easy thing. You aren't even going to be able to land on the beaches like you did in Omaha in World War II, because they'll shoot you out of the water before you get anywhere close. We can't get to the Strait of Hormuz to control it. You'll notice all our ships are standing well off the shore, anywhere near that Straits of Hormuz, because anytime we'll get anywhere near it, all those ships will be destroyed before they got anywhere near it. That's the sad truth of it. That's why we haven't been able to take control of the Straits of Hormuz. So be aware if something major happens, and then all of a sudden, and if you don't change your mind and rally around the flag, then you've got a draft. Yeah, that's right, a draft, conscription. And that's not going to go over well. But again, if we have like a 911 or something that they can blame on Iran, then the American people will be a lot more open to it. And where are you going to go to avoid service this time? Used to be back in the 70s, the 60s and 70s, last time we had a draft. Thank you, Canada. I think Canada is going to be too happy to bring in a lot of Americans at this point because of the enemy we're making out of them via the tariffs that Mafia Don has been putting on everybody. And by the way, tariffs are just another tax on you, the American people. Not only are we going to have higher inflation because of them, we're also going to have higher inflation because of the war and because of what's going on in the oil markets. But it's just a tax on America. He says, Donald Trump says, it brought in so much money. Yeah, it was your money, because now you're paying more for all your goods that you bought from anything from overseas, from all these countries. Now you're paying more for them. So that money came from you. It's another way of raising taxes that's kind of hidden to you. They're good at that, creating hidden taxes. The only way these wars are going to stop is we stop paying our taxes. That's really what needs to really happen, truly what needs to happen. But they've made it almost possible for you to do that. I do the best I can, but I can't avoid all of them. Some taxes are necessary. But if you're funding a genocidal war overseas, and many wars overseas, and you're doing the bad things that our government is doing overseas with these wars, then I think you're morally justified not to pay them their money, because that's what they rely on. They rely on your money and your consent to do what they're doing. You consent to do what they're doing because you continue to pay your taxes. That's the sad facts, folks. I don't care if you get mad at me about that. That's the sad facts about it. And so what do? You think you're going to vote out somebody else, and then you vote in the same guys that turn out to be Zionists, or controlled by the money in some other way that's hidden from you, like not only the Jewish lobby, but also the Israeli lobby, I should say, and not necessarily Jewish lobby, the Israeli lobby, but also the military-industrial complex, Raytheon, McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, all these military contractors that we send them billions of dollars each year to build these missiles, and these missiles that cost us millions of dollars that don't even actually work, and they're being shot down by $30,000 drones made with somebody's 3D printer in a basement somewhere in Iran. And by basement, I don't mean they're made by the people. They're in the basement under mountains. Speaking of mountains, this may be another thing. Here's a way for Mafia Don to get out of this war. Since he's trying everything he can, and the Iranians aren't letting him. The Iranians basically want this war to continue, regardless what he says about they're begging me to come to a deal. They want a deal. They're begging me. No, they aren't begging you for a deal. They've been told. He's told you many times they don't want a deal. You don't hold to your promises. Anything you sign is worthless. You've proven that over and over again. You don't want a deal. You want them to surrender, and instead you have to surrender, and you don't like it. They want a deal. No, they don't. They've said they don't want a deal. And so they're very happy to have this war continue. But here's a way Mafia Don can get out of this quagmire he's got himself into. And they've been talking about it, kind of prepping you for it here for the last couple of weeks, talking about this thing called Axe Pick Mountain. Is that what it's called? Axe Pick? It's something Pick Mountain. There's a new thing that they brought up here in the last couple of weeks. So because the mainstream media is starting to introduce this idea to you, and that's where their nuclear program is now, don't you know? The one we obliterated a year ago, totally obliterated, according to Mafia Don. We totally obliterated it more than a year ago. So what could happen is, I see a good thing to reply to on YouTube here, Kentucky, I'll get to you. So what we have here is a possibility that he's going to now bomb this island, a mountain. Supposedly there's a facility underneath this mountain that is now housing their new nuclear program, or the existing nuclear program, or their old nuclear, whichever nuclear program they're talking about, the one they obliterated, a year ago. And now we may bomb that mountain and then say, oh, yep, we're done. They won't have nuclear weapons now. I'm a victor. Look at me, good old Mafia Don, and rah me. MAGA loves me, and now my legacy is withheld positively for the rest of my life. But the Straits of Hormuz are still closed. Your economy is being destroyed. You're being elected out of office. And other people are being elected in because of what you've done. Loser. No matter what he does, he's a loser. But at least that way he could walk away and claim victory, and then our economy could start to be restored. Now, you haven't seen the big problem with this yet, but you will be seeing, because now we've already guaranteed ourselves to be well into a recession, probably into depression at this point. And if he keeps it up, he will definitely be in a depression. They just haven't told you yet how many people are losing their jobs. And just like Kentucky says on YouTube, what are gas prices in Iran? Gas prices in Iran? You should look this up, because you won't believe me when I tell you. I think it's about, if you have to do the conversions, because they sell by the liter. Plus they're not using the dollar; they're using the real. Is that what they're using? It comes out the equivalent of about 2 to 3 cents per liter or something like that. Like less than a nickel a gallon. They're paying in Iran for gasoline. What are you paying right now? You're paying over $4, I'm pretty sure, most of you. Gone up here a lot last week, and it's going to go up a lot more. Once the markets realize what's really the long term, what's going to happen, the market's going to start going crazy. And now with the closure of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which is off the coast of Yemen, not off the coast of Iran, because the Hormuz Strait, if you don't know, if I'm educating you here, the Strait of Hormuz is basically surrounded by Oman and Iran. Those are the two countries that could legally control the Strait of Hormuz. As far as the Bab el-Mandeb, if I'm saying that right, you got Yemen, and I can't remember the other country. There's two countries There's two other countries on the other side, two very small minor countries that I can't remember the names of them actually, to be honest with you. They could control that one. But the Houthi, or the Ansar Allah, I think they're really called, but we call them the Houthi here, are now basically blocking that from Saudi Arabian ships and Israeli ships. And they did this more than a year ago. They sank some ships. They'll attack ships blocking the Bab el-Mandeb, and then all of a sudden all the ships that are going, that have to go, that usually go through there to go to India or anywhere out east, Japan, Singapore, Indonesia, whatever, they now all had to go around the Cape Horn, which is on the tip of South Africa. Now, because Saudi Arabia has been at war with Yemen, with the Houthi in Yemen, for almost a decade, and they weren't able to defeat them. Then, of course, what did we do? A little more than a year ago, we bombed them for, I think, 40 days straight, and we couldn't defeat them. And this is the poorest ragtag group of militiamen, if you want to call them that, in the Middle East. And we couldn't defeat them by bombing them continuously for like 40 days or something like that. And so somehow you thought you're going to destroy Iran, a country 1,000 times bigger. Somehow you thought you were going to destroy Iran by bombing them for 40 days or whatever it was. How many days we've been bombing them now? It's been months, on and off for months. Let's put it that way. So we couldn't defeat the Houthi, and neither could Saudi Arabia. Now the Houthi have proven that they've got the power too, and they've blocked the Bab el-Mandeb Strait from Saudi tankers coming through. They allowed a couple Chinese ships to go through, but not any Saudi Arabian ships, because they're at war, and they got attacked again by Saudi Arabia. So, okay, you want to play that game? We'll block the straits. And now you have to go, if you want to get your oil, you can't. Saudi Arabia has coastlines on both the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, which means they go through to deliver oil to the Far East, such as Japan or China or whatever. They have to go through from either shore. They can go through the Strait of Hormuz, or they go through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. And now both of them are blocked for them. So now to get oil there, they have to. It adds 40 days to their trip to go into the Red Sea and through the Suez Canal, and then through the Mediterranean, all the way around Africa to go to the Far East. Adds 40 days of the trip. So now the Far East is having huge energy shocks right now. Everybody's been using up their strategic petroleum reserves. So countries like Japan and the Far East, Indonesia, Philippines, all those countries out there depending on oil from Saudi Arabia or all the countries in the Middle East are now going to be suffering. Their oil isn't under $100 a barrel. The prices they pay are more like $150 a barrel. And it's probably going to go up to over $200 a barrel very soon, because of now the Bab el-Mandeb Strait closed for Saudi Arabian oil. Saudi Arabia wanted to enter this fight. Well, now they got a fight that they won't be able to win either. And all Iran, or I don't know if the Houthi have the ability to do this, but all Iran has to do to shut down Saudi Arabia completely, or Kuwait, or Bahrain, or all those other countries that have U.S. military bases on them. All they have to do is hit their power plants or hit their desalination plants. And those countries no longer exist for all intents and purposes. Because without water is a lot more valuable than oil in the Middle East. In those countries, they will have to abandon those countries if they have no way of getting clean drinking water. Now, for a while, other countries will try to ship in water and all that, but that's a losing proposition. Those countries don't deserve to exist without the natural resources that should sustain them. Oil won't sustain them, especially when they're used as a weapon of war as they are now. Water would be key for those countries. Kuwait is in real bad shape. What Iran is doing, if you don't understand this, if you're bringing this up, and I don't know, Kentucky says, wow, 3 cents a liter. I don't know if you looked that up or not. I'm hoping that's correct. I think it's less than that. I think it's like 2 cents, or maybe even 1 or 2 cents. But anyway, that might be the correct number. And somebody there on YouTube may have looked it up. Anyway, look it up if you don't believe me. What gas is in Iran, the price of gas. What Iran is doing to all those, the reason that Iran is bombing all those Middle East countries and attacking them, they're basically trying to drive the U.S. out of those countries. All those military bases we have all around the world, well, all in those countries. Again, we have almost 800 of them all over the world. We don't need any of them anywhere in the world except on our own shores for defense. That's what it's supposed to be. Defense, Department of Defense. Get it? Pete Hegseth, Department of War. No, you're the Department of War criminal. So where was I going with that? They're bombing these other countries to drive the U.S. out of them, because the U.S. has agreements with Kuwait and Bahrain and United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, and I'm sure I'm missing some. There's a couple more that I'm missing right now. We have their military bases in the world. Jordan being attacked right now too. They're being attacked because Iran is trying to show those countries, those kingdoms, that you really need to get those bases out of there, because that's what's really causing the problems in the Middle East. We are the causes for all these problems in the Middle East. By we, I mean, of course, the United States and Israel. Israel wouldn't even exist without us, let's be honest. We shouldn't be just supporting Israel because they're our worst enemy, let's be honest. And those are the worst enemies of the Middle East. You would have a much more peaceful Middle East. I'm not saying with us gone, there'd be a vacuum, a power vacuum that would be created because of religious fanatics, let's call them, the Sunnis and the Shias, and they're going to be at war with each other. Turkey and Egypt, they'll all have their own little war. Let them have their wars. It doesn't involve us. It's not our business. If we leave our bases all around the world, there'll be changes all around the world. There'll be all these countries fighting each other that maybe weren't fighting them before because we were protecting them, or we were pretending to protect them, like in the Middle East, because that's all we were doing. We were pretending to protect them because we've now proven that we can't protect those countries. So why should we even be there? So those countries, all those kingdoms, are now going to have to make the decision of whether or not they're going to allow the U.S. to stay or not. And there's an old Muslim saying, and I don't know exactly how it goes, but the basic translation is, kiss the hand you can't bite. They're kissing the wrong hand. Because Iran has shown they're holding all the cards. If you want to think of it as a card game. The losing card game Donald Trump is in. Iran holds a straight. Donald Trump holds a wannabe king, or not even two kings, just one. King high, or maybe Joker. Maybe he's holding a Joker. A Joker hidden wild. It's just crazy. So those kingdoms have a decision to make. And there'll be a lot of things changing in the Middle East because they're forcing us out. For all intents and purposes, they've already closed down several bases, and they're closing down more of them. Our military, the U.S. military, has been moving our equipment from one to another, trying to get farther away, and now they've moved to Jordan, and now Jordan has become a good target. Nice, juicy target. And now what's happening in Jordan? They're moving to Israel. Oh, boy. Now we're talking. All those juicy targets, all those KC, whatever, refueling tanker planes, and all our F-35s, and they're moving to Israel. and Iran could put a huge hurting on Israel. The problem with that is Israel would then face an existential threat because Iran can completely destroy Israel in its current state. And so what will Israel do? Israel will probably use a nuclear weapon on Iran. That opens up a whole nother Pandora's box that I can't make predictions there. I easily predicted that we would lose this war in Iran, which we did. But I can't predict what will happen after that. It won't destroy Iran. Iran won't be destroyed. They'll turn around and continue to completely destroy Israel if they use nuclear weapons. Yeah, nuclear weapons aren't what you were taught in your childhood, or if you were alive during the Cold War. It's not like that. It's something different. I've got about 5 more minutes on Liberty Tree Radio, but I'll continue for those on YouTube. So if those of you on Liberty Tree Radio want to listen to me further, if you want to continue on, if I continue get the input on Liberty on YouTube, I will continue on after we're off the air on Liberty Tree Radio. So nuclear weapons. Now, let's say this mountain, Pickaxe Mountain, I think that's what it is. Pickaxe Mountain. That sounds right. Let's say we use a miniature nuke. What they call it, a tactical nuke. Let's say we use a smaller nuke. That's still going to cause reverberations around the world. It won't destroy Iran, and it won't destroy their nuclear program either. That mountain is basically nuclear proof, just like our mountains here that we have. What is the one in Cheyenne Mountain in Wyoming? Or no, Colorado? I think it's called Cheyenne Mountain. That was called Cheyenne Mountain. Anyway, we have mountains here the same way that are basically impervious to a nuclear weapon. So does Iran. And whether they have their nuclear program there or not doesn't matter. You can't have another nuclear weapon. You can't have a nuclear weapon. Donald Trump keeps saying that. That seems to be his main thrust, is the reason that at the moment. He hasn't been screaming about opening up the strait as much anymore. He's desperately wanting them to because the economies are being destroyed because of it. And that's one of the main reasons he has to back out of this war now. Is because the economies all around the world are suffering and we're becoming the pariah of the world. We used to be the moral character, the moral high ground on everything. We used to be one of the best countries in the world. I can't say we are anymore. And that's a shame. Coming from your own countrymen, seeing how we've destroyed our own country, destroyed from within. That's why wouldn't you take the oath, enemies foreign and domestic? We've been destroyed from within. Donald Trump is destroying this country, just as Biden was, just as all the others was. Clinton, Bush's, all the other ones. So don't start accusing me of being no Democrat or Republican. They've all been destroying our country, little by little, small enough, slowly enough, to where you're the frog in the pan being boiled slowly, and you don't realize you're being boiled slowly. Bringing this nation down. That's what it's all about for the oligarchy. Creating empires that will fail. That's what we've done. We've created an empire that is failing right before your eyes. But let Donald Trump believe he's won this war. Let him bomb the mountain and say, there we go, we're done. We can go home now. Great, go home. Let's start recovering. Then let's start impeaching his butt. Let's get him out of office, put him in jail, along with Hegseth and Rubio and all the others. And while you're at it, all the traitors in Congress and the Senate who have been taking money from a foreign nation to get us into these wars. They've bought our military. That's what they've done. They don't need much of a military because they bought ours. We've got the biggest one in the world. At least we used to. I don't know what we got anymore. But beware if there's some sort of false flag event. I don't know what that will be. I could give you a lot of examples. Let's just say 911. Let's say if there's a 911 type event happens in this country and they blame it on Iran. Well, unfortunately now they're going to have a little bit more problem with that. We have the internet today. There's going to be a lot of conspiracy theories flying immediately, but some of them might be true. We need to look into them one by one, find out the evidence of them, and determine whether or not it was real or not. Is it real? Is real or not? Because it probably won't be. You say, well, they chant death to America. Well, why wouldn't they say death to America and death to Donald Trump? Why wouldn't they? We've killed their leader and half their Congress, and it'd be like them killing the Pope, Donald Trump, and Speaker of the House, and half the senators, and so on. Well, I think we'd be saying death to Iran, wouldn't we? And why are we there anyway? Why are they our enemies? Can anybody tell me why they are our enemies? No, you can't. No one can. The only reason you can say is, well, they upset the apple cart, they upset the empire and the oligarchs when they kicked out the Shah of Iran and took over their own country. Got our puppet out of there and put in their own people. It's called revolution, 1979. That's what they did, and that's why they're mad at us. That's where it started, and then we funded Iraq in their 10-year war against Iran with chemical weapons, even weapons of mass destruction, and killed about almost 1 million of their people in that war that we were supporting the Iraqi side. Why wouldn't they say death to America? You got to think of the other side too here, folks. So I thank everybody for listening on Liberty Tree Radio. I'm going to be leaving here very shortly. Again, go to YouTube, and if you want to continue to hear what I have to say on Liberty Tree Radio or on YouTube, and it's Forbid TV with 2 Ds and no space between TV. So Forbid TV on YouTube. We'll continue on YouTube here for a while, however long people, if nobody wants to continue. Nobody's said anything here on YouTube in a while. We don't have very many viewers. It's been the middle of summer. It's nice out, and I don't blame you for not sitting by your TV or computer, whatever you call it, during these nice months. Because I should be out there working. I shouldn't be out here in front of the TV, in front of my computer either. But so a lot of people, they'll be about. I usually get about 100 people after a day. 100 people that go and watch the video within the first day, and then over time it does grow, a couple hundred, whatever. I don't have a lot of viewers, and because YouTube doesn't like me, doesn't promote me, because I'm not playing their money game, basically. So, until I don't know if Ed at the studio is going to be on time or not, but we're still on both. Let's see what else. Price of gas is going to keep going up. Okay, there we go. We're going to be ending now on. Let me turn down the volume so I don't get a copyright hit on YouTube. So I thank everybody on Liberty Tree Radio for listening. Until next time, so long. And we've ended the feed on Liberty Tree Radio. We'll continue on YouTube if anybody wants to continue, or if anybody wants to ask questions or even change the topic, that's fine. What else about the war here? Price of gas is going to keep going up. I have been working very hard to try to get a shipping container moved, and they've already placed about a $500 increase with fuel surcharges. And if I wait any longer, it's going to get a lot worse, because at some point here, here's the situation about gasoline, diesel, aviation fuel, oil in this country, in the U.S. We've been selling our strategic petroleum reserves in salt caverns in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas. I'm not exactly sure where they're all at. We've been selling off our strategic petroleum reserves to artificially create the market to be low on the oil market, artificially low. The scientists have said we are at a danger point on those caverns where they could start collapsing if we draw it down any lower. So he's at a breaking point. That's why he agreed to that memorandum of understanding, his surrender, Donald Trump's surrender. He agreed to it because he has to get this stopped. He has to get this stopped. So that's why I also don't believe really, truly he's going to do anything further, especially with troops on the ground. But he's not taking, but his masters may say, no, you put boots on the ground. If his master says that, well, then you're going to have a mass event in this country, a false flag event, to get the war going with boots on the ground over decades, probably, and hundreds of thousands of our troops killed in the deserts and the mountains of Iran, where it's 120 degrees right now. And you're wearing a 90-pound pack trying to create havoc in a country you don't know and don't understand, and don't have the patriotic willfulness, well, I should say this, you don't have any patriotism. You shouldn't have any patriotism to fight for Israel, because that's what you're doing. But again, with this false flag coming, it may change your mind on that. So anyway, if we continue with this, it'll be something like that. But if they wants to stop it immediately and pretend he's won, that Pickaxe Mountain, done, destroyed, we're out of here. Thank you very much. And he can keep pretending he won the war for the next 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever he's got. Fine, do that before we get into a bigger mess, because the oil markets are going to go crazy more and more the longer this goes on, especially now with the Bab el-Mandeb Strait close, which now constitutes another 6% of the worldwide oil market. And we're going to be facing, at some point, shortages and diesel. Let me explain this a little bit here. And you can start looking. There's a lot of channels you can look at to explain this in more detail, because I wouldn't be able to rattle off all the details. But there's different types of crude oil: sweet crude, what's the other type of crude? Anyway, there's different types of crude oils, and there's different type of refineries that refine different types of oils. Most of our refineries are geared towards the type of oil that we can produce into gasoline. Other types of oils are better for diesel and aviation fuel, and there's tars. There's a lot of products that come out of oils, crude oil. We probably won't see a shortage of gasoline, because we can probably produce enough of our own here to not have to worry about that. Although the price will still go way up, because it's still worldwide markets. If the worldwide market goes up to $150 a barrel, our price of gasoline will go up regardless, whether we produce it here or not, because it's world markets, don't you know? But the problem is diesel. The biggest problem in this country will be diesel. Coming up, if this continues, if it gets really bad, there will become a point, hear me out closely here, you aren't going to believe me, just like you didn't believe me here a year ago when I talked about this stuff, that it's all now coming true. You can go back to my other live feeds and confirm that, because I don't have to delete my live feeds, because they're all true. They're all 100% correct. I mean, not 100%, but I get it right more than I get it wrong. Aviation fuel and diesel are the ones we don't ourselves refine out of the crude oil here. So we have to import a lot of that. There'll become a point where diesel goes up a whole lot more than gasoline. Right now, diesel is just over $5 a gallon. It would very easily go up $7, $8, $9, $10 a gallon. At some point, there will even be shortages, and they'll play a trick like they did during the COVID lockdown, and they will have essential only. Remember that? Essential deliveries, essential trucking only, essential rail only, to where they're limiting what can be moved by truck and by rail, or by plane, aviation fuel. Who can travel by air and when? That's what we're facing, folks. If this continues, very much more, the world markets will dictate that diesel goes up a lot more than gasoline does for us here in the U.S. It might be reversed in other countries. Other countries will be suffering more on their gasoline than they will their diesel. But in this country, diesel will be key. And everything you buy, take a look around wherever you are, unless you're outside. Take a look around wherever you are. Everything you see in your eyes right now, all around you in that room, came to you by truck with diesel, or train by diesel, or both. More than likely, at some point, by truck. The price of everything is going to go up. What does that mean? That means, of course, inflation. And it could get really bad inflation. Could be hyperinflation. And you need to watch the treasury market. Treasury market starts going nuts, we are done. Because we're running off of debt. We're already, 39 trillion in debt, maybe 40 by now because of this war. And the debt's just going to pile up. If people aren't funding our debt anymore, we're bankrupt. We're done. We're broke. If China decides to pull their bonds or treasury bonds and things start happening in the treasury bond market, stock market too, watch the stock market, but that's not the whole story. The bond market, the treasuries, that's where you really need to watch what's happening. Then watch the price of gold and silver shoot up again. Price of oil will shoot up. Currencies will collapse. And what happens when we get a currency collapse here in this country? Digital. No more cash. That's going to make those cameras that you're worried about seem inconsequential based on now a digital society, digital cash. No more change in your pocket, no more bills in your wallet. And for you religious fanatics out there, maybe it'll be instead of because of all the fraud, don't you know, with some kind of digital card, a national ID card that has your money in it. It might be in your forehand or your right hand or forehead. For all you religious nuts out there, Bible prophecy, don't you know? I think you can disregard Bible prophecy, but hey, whatever. If you want to follow that stuff, you go right ahead. Just don't force your religion upon me. Someone on YouTube says, I'm amazed they have the ability able to suppress the diesel shortage effects this long. Well, again, we do refine a lot of our own diesel. Some of our own diesel in this country. But yeah, but again, the reserves are being sold worldwide. So, but you probably have some truth there, but I don't know. I'm not great at markets, and this is fairly new to me. Also, what's fairly new to me that I didn't know before, that I didn't predict before, when I talked about the Straits of Hormuz being closed long before this happened. I talked about that we would lose because we'd run out of bullets. I talked about all that more than a year ago. But I wasn't aware of sulfur, helium, urea, fertilizer. These are also greatly affected for world markets that we're finding out that I didn't know before. Urea and fertilizer, that's going to cause famine in a lot of countries of the world. Next planting season, major problems with famine all over the world. If this gets really bad. Sulfur in a lot of manufacturing, sulfuric acid in a lot of manufacturing processes use sulfur and sulfuric acid, and helium, computer chips. I guess you need helium for the process of making computer chips. And speaking of computer chips, for those of you who believe the nonsense that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, one podcaster calls him Pete Keg's breath. I think that's pretty funny. Are saying about the we have plenty of munitions, but no, you don't. You've been lying up your ass. I guess you definitely even easily prove. Even some of the mainstream media now is showing about how we have shortages now, that we're running out of bullets essentially. But here's the kicker: to manufacture those Patriots and THAADs and all these other high-tech drones and missiles that we make here in this country, made by the military industrial complex. You need computer chips, for one. Where do we get those from? A lot of them from Taiwan and others in China. But also, more importantly, you need rare earth minerals. Various types of, being magnets, molybdenum. There's all kinds of rare earth minerals that go into these high-tech weapons that we just don't have here. And where do we get them from? China. Oh, nice move making China into an enemy with tariffs, because now they've stopped basically exporting rare earth minerals for military purposes. But these Patriots and THAADs, these don't just take months to build, they take years to build. If they put in an order for 10,000 Tomahawks right now, you won't see that first Tomahawk come off this assembly line for more than a year. Takes years to build these things. And that's if we can get the rare earth minerals to build them in the first place. Oops, double whammy. Mafia Don, you screwed it up again. Okay, my voice cracked a couple of times, and I get excited and I raise my voice and I run my voice down to nothing. And I'm not seeing too many viewers right now on YouTube, and nobody else has been commenting for a while. So I'm going to wrap it up now. So I thank everybody for watching the YouTube feed. Click on, and I guess what they say, like and subscribe so that you'd be informed and click the bell, I guess they say, for being informed when I go on live again. But you can always watch it as a replay. It's not necessarily be on live. We'll have more viewers when it's colder out, but right now the weather's just too nice. So thanks everybody for watching. Let me see if I can figure out how to get out of here again. I don't do this enough. Try edit. No, not edit. Which button do I push? Let's push this button that says live. No. Oh, end stream. There we go. Thank you. So long.